Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and do you know what you're looking at? This is a fully jacked up stage 59 of Shadowland featuring your champion, presumably, Vision. And this is my top 300, I believe, ranked Vision in, you know, his glory days before he gets presumably what will be the rework to put him back on the map. But like Gamora and Drax before him, I had to go a little crazy and kind of overtune the character to really illustrate not only what bad characters look like in Marvel Future Fight, because there's so many of them, and it's just so beautiful to see them all in their hideous, unrefined glory from the 2015 days, but also to highlight some of the actual good things about character design that have endured, and honestly one of them is the way that they've expressed Vision's intangibility. Now they do it in a couple ways. They do it with his, I believe, 4-star passive as well, which gives him physical immunity when he gets hit, but it's just really nice to see on multiple skills, particularly 5 and 3, the way that he kind of zips underground and he kind of just melts through the arena and pops back up, and that's expressed through iframes. There I got killed due to reflect, but that was what I was trying to that's what I was trying to do. That's what I was trying to deliver. This stage would have been quite difficult for me to actually clear. It's a stage 59, but that does show the upper limit. I mean, I think with a perfect build, and I think with a more aggressive playstyle, I may be able to clear that stage with Vision. But I wanted to just reflect on the good sides of Vision before he gets his rework. I do think that it's really important for them to keep the intangibility aspect of Vision and to keep those iframes. You know, density shift on his 3rd skill, he dives and he gets the immunity, and then on his 5th skill, dimensional attack, he also gets the immunity, or he also gets the iframe with the diving. There are gaps in his 5th skill iframe, so against characters who are using a channeling skill like Thanos World Boss, you will get punished and you'll take damage. But other than those 2 skills, I mean, his 2nd skill should probably be a beam that's continuous. That would be amazing. But he's good because he has that duality. He was one of the first characters to get both physical and energy damage as part of his kit, even though he's an energy attacker. But then we look at the downside of a character like Vision. So not only does he have super low base stats, but even with a uniform, he's got one of the worst leaderships in the game. When you tag out, you get 10 seconds of super armor and all defense on a 30-second cooldown. Just completely garbage. His passive is okay, but it's got a 60-second cooldown. I haven't seen cooldowns that long since, I don't know, 2015. And even his tier 2 passive is just not that good, although it's nice because it's got a 3-second cooldown and you get 4 seconds of immunity, so you can always have the immunity up with just about a ½ second in between density shift coming off of cooldown. But just to show you, just to give you one more example of just how old and sad Vision is, if you take a look at over here in the usage tips, changes the uniform. They're discussing his Avengers Age of Ultron uniform. Changes character type to universal. Wow. So he's usually a blast type, but they've changed him to universal, and acquires Ronin's powerful leader skill, the Accuser. So literally the point of this uniform was to power creep Vision at a time when, believe it or not, Ronin was the best leadership in the game. That's right, folks. My beloved Ronin used to be, he's the Accuser, and it's the Accuser right here, but he used to just be this Accuser. But he still had the best leadership in the game. He had the Thanos 3636. So they... And they literally talk about it right here. Oh my god. New leader skill, the Accuser has the ability to amplify the strength of universal types. No shit. But yeah, it's just really bad. But what is worse than bad is what I've done to Vision to get him to rank 364. So I went ahead and gave him 4-star, mostly 4-star Uru. I went ahead and amplified to 4 or 5 slots, depending on my luck, for his gears. I leveled all of his skills to level 6, which jumped me like 200 ranks up from 500. His ISO 8 set is so-so Power of Angry Hulk. It could definitely be better, but I don't have a lot of fully awakened ISOs, and I'm not going to go that far, even though the ISO discount is on right now. Of course, we took one of the CTPs of Rage off of Gamora and Drax and gave it to him, so he's rocking the kind of premier OP CTP at the moment. And then I went ahead and I ranked up his uniform from, I believe it was an advanced, all the way to heroic to get these additional 2 stats to help him get closer to the max here with 50-50, and then the 60-60 on the dodge crit with some crit damage. He's got the advantage of being a machine type already, which means that he will also benefit from part of like the technokinetic leadership from Ghost, but I think there are still a lot of ways that he could be made much better. I think it would be very interesting if Netmarble made Vision into a PvP character because of his intangibility. I think his energy charge should give him immune to all damage that can't be penetrated. And that should be, you know, for, you know, let's say 3 seconds with a 10-second cooldown. So he still has to get hit. He'll still take damage. He still needs to heal and self-repair. But then he'll be able to kind of go completely intangible, because we know now that this physical immunity doesn't really mean shit. And he'll still get one-shotted or two-shotted by a Quicksilver who can penetrate this regular damage immunity. So it needs to be, he needs to have, you know, immunity to pierce on that for it to actually matter. Otherwise, they should just completely rework this. I think another cool thing that Netmarble should start to rework into characters as a build-up for their major bleed rework is to start giving machine types immunity to bleed. I think as part of this ability passive, they should give them just native immunity to bleed effects. That would make Vision much better against Corvus and Cull Obsidian World Boss, because they both like to bleed for thousands of damage. And then when they inevitably, in, you know, the Halloween October of 2019, when they finally rework Blade and Warwolf and all those bleed type characters, and they make bleed the new OP stat like webbing used to be, then Vision and Ultron and Pimtron will be immune to that, and then we'll finally be like, damn, this is some really cool counterplay. Obviously, probably none of that's going to come true, but, you know, a guy can dream. We're also going to go into Stage 15 of Cull Obsidian with my 425 raid level, with a double buff here from Warwolf and Nick Fury, and no strikers, and we're going to see just how much damage he does, and you will be surprised, because this is your champion. This is who you guys voted for to get a rework. Now, I'm not saying you voted wrong, because Vision has been shit for 4 years, basically, and he deserves so much more. I mean, he got done dirty in the MCU. He's garbage in the MCU, but he doesn't deserve to be garbage in this game. He really deserves to be better, and he actually is better. I mean, if you take a look at this damage is way higher than Gamora or Drax, and the builds were really not that different between the two characters. So there really isn't, you know, anything to explain why he's doing so much more damage, despite the fact that he's just better. But he's honestly one of the coolest characters in terms of his abilities really feeling true to life. And it's kind of like Human Torch. When you're playing as Vision, you know exactly who you're playing as because of the way that his skills look, and because of the fact that he's phasing in and out of the battlefield. Reminds me of Mirio from My Hero Academia, any of you weebs out there. But he doesn't need a lot of changes. I honestly think, not that I want them to do such a lazy rework, but I think if they just reworked his damage, if they kind of quadrupled his damage numbers, he would be good enough, as is, given the immunity, given the iframes, but they could do so much more. They could do bleed immunity, they could give him some sort of immunity to reflect, they could really play around with his intangibility and make him into an interesting character that affects the meta in a way. You know, if they give him immunity to cancel so that he can't have his buffs stripped, and they give him some additional damage against super villain universal types to kind of reflect the fact that he took down Ultron in the MCU, he could also become a viable counter to Thanos. So there's, you know, a bunch of different ways they can go with this. It really depends on when they decide to rework Vision, because, you know, the meta could definitely change between then and now. But I just hope that they do him more justice than they did for Hyperion, because, you know, Hyperion, let's be honest, didn't get enough of a rework, and Hyperion is a paid character, whereas Vision is a free character. So I'm kind of worried maybe the Vision rework, I'm getting my hopes too high for it, and it's not going to be as good as we think. But, you know, a man can dream. Oh, I'm dead here. And, oh, I'm not. Oh, boy, just spamming iframes. Cynicalex, here we go. I'm dead. Yep, I should have switched. I should have iframed out. But that's actually not that bad. I think, again, similar to the Shadowline stage, if I had pushed it, and if I had played kind of perfectly and gotten better rolls on my crits so that I could actually trigger my CTP of Rage. I mean, the problem with all these old characters, and the reason why they just need so many hits, is because CTPs and obelisks in general, you know, it sounds kind of weird, guys, but even regular obelisks, they weren't like this. When Vision was a character, when Drax was a character, there was no increased damage. And so characters having one hit on a skill, it didn't matter. It mattered more that Microwave Pulse is an iframe than the fact that it only has literally a single hit. It is a one-hit skill. It didn't matter because there were no damage procs. But then the introduction of damage procs, then later on the introduction of CTPs of energy with chain hit, and now CTPs of rage. You just want to hit as many times, as fast as you can, stacking up as many hits as possible to trigger those effects as often as possible. You want it to trigger every 7 seconds. But with characters like Drax and Vision and Gamora, you're going to wait sometimes 10, 12, 15 seconds because you're not hitting enough. There's just not enough hits to trigger a crit, 20% of the time. Because even it's only a 20% chance when you crit. So it's 63% chance when I crit, there's a 20% chance. And with one fucking hit per second, you're gonna bet your ass that it's gonna take a lot longer than 7 seconds on average. And so it'll be interesting to see how Netmarble reworks Vision. It'll be nice to know when we're going to get the rework for Vision, but they're probably not going to tell us. We're probably not going to know. And for those of you that are still confused about why I just introed this whole Vision video, if you haven't checked the banner link, it's pretty much solidified at this point that Vision is absolutely, he's got over half the vote. I don't think there's many people left to vote. So you should start building up your Visions now. I guess don't buy his uniform because it's probably time for him to get a uniform as well. But throw on a bit of Uru, maybe roll out his Uru slots in order to get 4 and 5 circles there, amplified slots. And then maybe start building an obelisk for him. If you don't have a CTP or you don't want to give him a CTP because you're not an insane person, I think just anything with damage, crit rate, crit damage, damage proc. But apparently he is okay for Alliance Conquest because of the annoyance of the iframes and the immunity. So you could also go for something like Guard Break, Max HP, Invincibility. But you should also think about not building his obelisk at all and then just wait to see what his uniform gives him, because they did a pretty substantial rework to Hyperion. They changed around some of his effects. I think one of the most infamous changes was that they stripped away, they took away his, no, they gave him super armor, so he didn't need the guard break anymore unless it was for PvP. So that's kind of a meaningful change that could have had a bigger impact. And that's actually why I ended up giving him this crit damage 200 proc, because he didn't need the guard break anymore. Last but not least, before we go, I want to direct you guys over here to this little thing. If you click this, you'll be greeted by a very familiar face, and I think this is hilarious. And guys, we finally did it. I'm finally in the game, literally. So thank you guys. Thank you to you guys. I know we're coming up on 100,000. I don't have anything specifically prepared for 100,000 subs, but I really appreciate it, and this kind of stuff would only have been possible with your help and support. So thank you guys so much. Love all of you out there in the universe of the internet. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.